Hello, my name is Bill Haley, and this is for Haley 2024 The Movement's Government Reform Ideas. Now, this video is going to be on healthcare. How are we going to address healthcare in the new proposed amendment that I'm proposing that's going to go more towards free enterprise, more towards competitive governance, selected competitive governance, and what's the whole system, and how is healthcare going to be included in that. We're going to go to a lot more free enterprise, a lot more freedom, a lot more liberty. But if you want a government where you have a lot more socialism, a lot more government taking care of you, you can go to that, but only those people that want to go to that with the funding and the benefits coming from that one group that choose to go into that. So competitive governance. So let's go through the whole system, the whole proposed change. It's a dramatic change, modest proposal, but a profound change. So let's go through it. We're going to separate all government power. I'm proposing that we separate all government power into 30 sectors. Top level elected leaders per sector. So the people in charge of law enforcement, it's not the same people in charge of healthcare. The people in charge of food, not the same people in charge of roads. People in charge of labor law, not the same people in charge of the military. People in charge of taking care of the poor, not the same people in charge of family law. All these things are separated out. I have all 30. We're going to go through all 30 rapidly. Try to do it in about 7 or 8 minutes, do an overview. But I want the overview to be long enough to understand how it's going to affect the healthcare sector. So let's go through it. Within each sector, and we still have 3 levels of government, all 3 levels have the same constitution. One constitution that has federal aspects, state aspects, local aspects. So it's 30 sectors, top level elected leaders per sector. Each sector has roughly 12 different CRAs in it. You get to select which CRA you want. As long as you gather together with 5% of the citizens in your locality, in your state, or the federal government, you can have a CRA. CRA is part private, part governmental. Private because it only governs the people that are members of it, but governmental because it has governmental powers. But only governmental powers over the people they govern, who their members are. You have to be part of one of them, so you select which governing body you want to be governed, but you have to be governed. So that's what 12 CRAs are. Within that same sector, and every sector, you have 12 distinct rating agencies. Again, 5%, 20% top limit, 5% bottom limit of the citizens, and that they're going to give high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives. So these are full governmental systems with the executive, legislative, and judicial powers. The sector board level or the rating system level at the other side, on the rating system side, they're the monopolized government. So they will govern you monopolized. So one set of regulations, and all the CRAs still do the governing, the bureaucracy, but they have to abide by the regulations from the monopolized, what they say. But that's only very limited. I'm saying 5 to 10%, but that 5% is going to be more in certain sectors. More of a societal oversight role than a governing role. So let's go through a little bit. The Constitution has a really great preamble. Read that. Citizenship is section 1. General laws. Every Constitution should have general laws. The bylaws are internal governance regulations. Within each of the sectors, within each of the organizations within this. How we deal with state, federal, and local. Original authority is how do we have the authority to even have laws in the first place, to have government. Goes through a teaching on that. It assigns original authority or top level authority per sector, per level of government and the like. With supermajority, if you have monopolized control, you need a 70% supermajority to do it. It's going to keep more things at the CRA level. Parent Sector Board has that structured. What's that responsibilities? I got videos on that. It's a sector board. They are in charge of, like, let's say healthcare or education or roads or military, law enforcement, family law, all the different ones. They're in charge of the full sector at their either the federal, state, or local level of government. Then CRAs. 90% of this whole thing is CRAs. Everything is built to support the CRAs. The rating system is to give high quality information so the CRAs can work better. Also to give rating floors where if you're creating negative externalities, you can put a rating floors on the standards that the CRAs can have if it's causing harm outside of the transaction, outside of what you're doing. It's to limit it. It's to limit how much goes up to the monopolized governance level. So people are governed mostly by the CRA that they select. And when I say mostly, almost entirely. We still have to pay for everything. It's going to be paid for through most of your CRA fees, RA fees, and the like. It's not going to be that burdensome. It's going to be less burdensome than we currently have in taxes right now. But it's going to allow everybody to have the power of spending their money and selecting where they're going to spend their money. When they select what CRA they go to, they select where they're going to spend their money. Who's going to give the best services? Who's going to give the best governmental services? You pick it. You pay the CRA fees, and that's what taxation is all about there. The debt, how we're going to switch from the current system to the new system. How do we deal with that debt? I have everything done. Basically, we're going to sell off all government property, roads, military bases, law enforcement, school buses, everything we have, all the hospitals that are government owned, everything that we have that government owns is going to be sold off to the private sector, the free enterprise system, or the CRAs, and they're going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. These things still need services, still need to be done. Law enforcement and prisons, they still need to be done. More on the free enterprise or the CRA level, but it's going to be done. It still needs to be done though. Pockets of freedom is an immigration or foreign policy position. States partial acceptance per sector. It's a way to get this thing passed without necessarily going all the way towards it. But look at that video. The separation of responsibilities and authorities, that's the 30 sectors we're going to talk about. We're going to go through all 30 now. Everything's on my website, and it's really easy to see. The whole Constitution's on my website. Very easy to find. We go totally away from the welfare state. No more government welfare whatsoever. Not in the tax code, not food stamps, not aid for dependent children. None of that. Not even public school system. All of that goes away. We go to a charity system for people who need it. So look at those videos. And that's going to be extremely important in this. So we're going to come back to look at that when we get a little bit farther into this video. Foreign protection system. So not so much into the healthcare system. This is a healthcare video, but look at those videos. I did all those videos. They're really good. We separate the responsibilities into 5 different sectors. We have a lot more checks and balances within the system. A lot better societal oversight, a lot better representative control. Not so much representative control, I'm sorry. Representative oversight, not control. Control that it's not getting out of line. The violent crime mitigation system is 5 different sectors dealing with law enforcement, prisons, the courts, and the like. So not very relevant in the in healthcare, other than there's laws involved in that, and and the court system and the like. So it's going to be minorly involved. Here are the healthcare and healthcare medicine. Medicine is, we'll describe it in a minute, but we split healthcare into 2 sectors. Financial, 2 different sectors. Insurance has a sector, and that's going to be highly important because health insurance is a big part of healthcare. Food, education, manufacturing, human resources, and sales. That deals with labor law and the like. So most people get health insurance through their employer. That's going to go away, hopefully, to a large degree. They're still going to be involved, so that's going to be part of it. Your identity, personal, and business is actually going to play a big role in this. It deals with ownership, record keeping, citizenships. It deals with a lot of stuff. So it's going to be partly involved in that. Environmental, work safety, transportation, media and communication, land and water. These 5 are not super important, but not so much for healthcare. But let's keep on going. So it's very important to understand what competitive regulatory agencies are. We'll get back into it because it's so important. Full governmental systems, they regulate, they govern, and they send representatives. When I say they govern, they're the bureaucracy. And these are the city, state, and federal level. So I want to stay on the screen for one more minute. You pick, and the healthcare businesses pick who they want to regulate them. They go to the CRA that there'll be a bureaucracy, about 12 different ones per city, per state, and for the federal government. 12 different rating agencies giving good information on all of this stuff. You pick who you want to be regulated by. Your doctor picks who they want to be regulated by. The hospital or a healthcare provider, they pick who they want to be regulated by. Now, most people think, okay, if they get that choice, they're going to only pick the ones that are most advantageous to the healthcare provider. Well, if nobody goes to them because everything's towards the healthcare provider, all the legal aspects and everything else is only towards the healthcare provider, they're not going to get customers. But on the other hand, if it's so tilted towards the patient, towards the customer, customer in the healthcare provider scheme in that realm, if it's all tilted towards the customer, the healthcare provider business is not going to be able to make money. It's going to force it in the middle. So let's keep on going, and you'll see it after a little bit. But it takes a little bit of understanding and thinking about it to understand how the rating system and the CRAs and people selecting, just like you can go to a fast food restaurant and get a meal cheap now, or you can go to a better place, have higher ratings, pay more, and get better services. Same thing with everything. So, but we have to allow the inexpensive, so the expensive can happen as well, and it'll drive up standards altogether. So we got two different sectors, and let's deal with those two sectors now. Both these sectors have a full set of CRAs, roughly 12. All you need is 5% of the citizens to agree to go to the CRA for them to have a CRA, and no more than 20. So both these have the full set of CRAs, the full set of RAs. So then we have charities. So we have CRAs, and then we have charities. Healthcare is mainly dealt with by healthcare regulations, and then paying for the people who can't pay for it themselves. The welfare system's not doing a great job on that. It's causing a lot of negative externalities. It's causing a lot of dependence. It's causing a lot of, there's no roll of prices working well in the healthcare industry. The roll of prices is all over the place, and it's not doing its job. And the government regulations are doing so much damage. Insurance regulations that are mostly governed by government, that is doing a lot of harm as well. So a lot of harm being done. I always like to come back to this screen showing you pick, your healthcare provider picks the CRA they want to govern them. Now, when as a customer, I'm going to look at what my healthcare provider's ratings are. Who's governing them? Are they being governed with good high quality regulations or shoddy regulations? Are they monitored? Are they held accountable? Or do they have a good legal system? That's what I want to see when I'm a customer. But if you go too far in that direction and they're so regulated, they have to be so safe, they have to be so clean, and then a doctor visit costs $10,000. Well, then people can't afford that either, and they don't get the health care that they need. So there's a balance between too safe and not safe enough. And there will be a rating floor for not safe enough, but we want people to be able to have less than the most stellar, because the most stellar is going to cost $10,000 for one 30-minute visit. So we can't just have that. We have to have people choosing to go to a healthcare provider because they can afford to, or the charities can afford to help out with that. But not the charities. We don't want the charities to help out creating dependence. But that's where the Medicaid and other healthcare regulations and charities fall too badly in the current system. That's some of the downfalls. You create dependence, and you really mess with the roll of prices. My system should allow the roll of prices to work a lot better because there's no overall monopolized governance. When I talk about sector board control, it's not going to be a lot of sector board control because people can choose what CRA to join. Okay, Sector 16 is healthcare, and it is established. Establishing a sector means you get to 12 CRAs, the 12 RAs, and a certain set of responsibilities. It is defined. Within the Constitution, every sector has to be defined, what the purpose is, what the responsibilities are, and clear lines written for that one sector. The purpose of the healthcare sector is to regulate healthcare not covered in Sector 17. Well, let's discuss 17. How is it split apart? The rating system must set a rating floor on accessible mandatory emergency healthcare. A person's healthcare CRA is responsible for uncompensated care unless otherwise addressed. So we do have an emergency room clause into this Constitution. So in emergency healthcare, we don't want anybody dying because they don't have the money to have a simple tourniquet going on their arm to stop somebody from bleeding out. I know that's super simple, and most people would do that anyway. But we're talking about we don't want somebody because they can't pay a $500 emergency room bill to just go ahead and die outside the emergency room for something that could be easily treated. Because we live in a society, and we sign this societal contract. What did I call it? A social contract. And part of that social contract is that you have to have health insurance to some degree at least, or your healthcare CRA has to address it, which means they can only address that or pay for that and compensate for that from their CRA fees charged to their members. So there's insurance built into that. So anyway, because we live in a society, and to live in this society, at least within my Constitution, you have to sign a social contract. The current government infrastructure and assets will transition to the free enterprise system. Everything that is currently owned by government, whether it's hospitals, ambulances, there's a lot of stuff out there. Right now we're just talking about healthcare, prisons, cop cars, police stations, schools, roads, military. All that's going to go to the free enterprise system as well, all sold off. Mostly to CRAs or companies regulated by CRAs. Well, everything's regulated by CRA, but everything's still needed, is what I'm trying to get at. But it's going to be in the free enterprise system. And you have to belong to a CRA. Okay. Healthcare Sector 17. This is going to deal with more medicine and medical devices. So it is established, which means you get 12 CRAs, 12 RAs. Again, it's roughly 12, minimum 5% of citizens, maximum 20% of citizens per CRA. We don't want to monopolize one CRA gaining 80 or 90% of the market. If you have one that wants to grow to 30 or 40%, you just simply split into two like-minded CRAs, and they can be affiliated with each other. So anyway, so they can have the same regulations, but they have to technically be two separate CRAs. The purpose of the healthcare medicine sector is to regulate medicine and medical devices. Now, how that's going to be divided, I don't know exactly. That I'll let the medical field make that determination of how best to divide that. But I want medicine, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices more in one sector and the rest of the healthcare industry in the other. That's hospitals, doctors' offices, home health, all the other stuff. Now, there's a lot to be done with that. Obviously, pharmacies would be more in this one, and the doctors in the Sector 16, I believe that was. A 70% vote of the Sector 17 Sector Board and rating system is required to ban problematic use of any narrowly specified substance. So this is illegal drugs type of things. To be illegal drugs, you have to have 70% vote of the Sector 17 Sector Board. And it has to Okay, let me finish reading it and then we'll go through it. But I'm going to get too long if I keep on reading through every last one of these. I'll just do this real quick. A 70% vote of the Sector 17 Sector Board and rating system is required to ban the problematic use of any narrowly specified substance that is declared to have a negative externality, semicolon. Vigorous attempts using rating floors and mitigation efforts must be attempted before any ban, as determined by 60% of the rating system and the complete violent crime mitigation system. So there's 5 sectors in the violent crime mitigation system. Is it causing a negative externality? So part of the negative externality is the judicial system has to declare it to be a negative externality worthy of the level of significant negative externality. And then the rating system has to try to deal with that with mitigation efforts and with rating floors before you can do that. So there's a lot to that. But this is making it very difficult for government to actually ban something. Right now, marijuana is being legalized in a lot of states, but pharmaceutical companies are not even legally allowed to experiment to maybe make it better, take away some of the bad aspects. They can't even do much with it at all because of the federal being federally illegal. So we have the worst of both worlds. We have the simple plant being smoked or whatever, and giving people some problems, giving people what they want, but also the problems that come with it. But we can't have the pharmaceutical companies try to make it better. So we have the worst of both worlds. Okay, a 70% vote of the judicial sector is required to declare a substance to be a negative externality. So the judicial sector, I said that in a minute, but this is a clause. So I try to make it very strong. Okay, the charity system. How do we take care of somebody who can't take care of themselves? We have a charity system. Everybody's mandated to donate money into the charity system. The goal is 5% of GDP. So how do we get there? I have a system to go there, but the goal is 5%. So look through those videos to see that. And we're going to have a few clauses in a minute here. So selected, this is only selected. There's hours, many hours worth of videos dealing with the charity. So you really have to look at that to see how that's going to work. But let me give a feel for it right now. First of all, the charities have no obligation to assist any specific person. Nobody can mandate that the charity system help them. It's highly important that a charity has the ability to say no. So that's moment one. If this goes away, the whole charity system fails. This is vital. A vital part of the charity system is the ability to say, no, I will not help. Once you make it mandatory, a lot of things kick in that make it very bad. It creates a lot of negative externalities. It goes down a lot of dark paths and a lot of dependence and a lot of mandates, a lot of requirements. It goes down too many dark paths. That's what's wrong with government right now. They put a mandate that the government can't say no to somebody. They put out a full framework of qualifications, and people put themselves in that bad qualifications to get that benefit. So they stay within that bad qualifications. So they have a worse life, and they have a hard time getting out of it, because the jump from being within the qualifications to get Medicaid and the jump to being self-sufficient is too big of a jump for a lot of people to get by. Some people do, sorry, but it's very difficult to get by. The purpose of the charity sector is to help fulfill serious unmet needs. That's a clause. That's the purpose of every sector has a purpose. Every charity CRA must establish a charity economy. You're going to have to look at that. That's to get anybody who is receiving benefits from charities to try to put work hours in. And those work hours to help other people in need. So we don't want the charities only to help the people. We want those people to also put labor hours back in. And the charity economy is where the charities can ask, where we actually have the caseworkers ask the people that are being helped to put labor hours in to help others. So that is very, very important part of the whole charity system. A CDA sectors must achieve fundraising. I'm sorry, let me start again. The CDA sector must achieve raising funds at a minimum of 5% of GDP. I'm not going to look at this rest of this right now, but 5% of GDP, roughly $1 trillion, that's a lot of money. So no doubt about it, that's going to provide a significant amount of money to help the poor, especially when we have the charity economy. The people who are being helped can ask to put labor hours in. Not getting money in response, not getting compensated. Your compensation is what the charities are giving you. They maybe give you a doctor's visit. They might give you some food, housing, whatever. And but then they ask you to put a shift in at the nursing home, or go cut grass, or do something to put labor back into the economy. The purpose of the charity assessor organization sector is to case manage those receiving help from charities. So they're going to be the most wise among us to look at somebody's situation, determine why they are needing help from society, and what they can do, and how they can help them. Not only direct their benefits, but also direct their life with education, with work, with other things, to get them back into a situation where they no longer need the charity, or they reduce down the net level of charity they need. So if they need, let's say, $1,000 a month, and they can put $500 a month back into the system through work hours, then that means they only need $500 out of the charity system per month. That's a lot better than $1,000, and then being stuck into that welfare system. So the most wise among us are going to be in this. And AO determines and coordinates assistance needed from charities for the people that AO manage. So there's going to be about 12 different AO organizations, different philosophies of how to help the poor. Different AOs are going to have different success levels. I know for me, I want to have a certain set of philosophies of how to help the poor. And I think that philosophy and my AOs are going to do the best. But we're going to be able to see ratings from a wide variety of perspectives on seeing who's doing the best at getting these people to be more independent and on their own and no longer needing charity. An AO may require the people they are assisting to work in the charity economy. Talked about that, but there's an actual clause there. Selected relevant clauses. So let's go through some other clauses. State level sectors will have original authority over federal level and local level sectors, except for the foreign protection system, where the federal level sector have original authority. What this is saying is the top level deciders are going to be state, not federal CRAs. So it's highly important to understand. Even though we're talking about competitive governance, even at the federal level, state level CRAs are going to be dominant at the top level. The federal cannot override them. Right now we have a constitution that gives the federal government authority over the state in too many areas. A lot of times they just took it without the constitutional ability to take it. And the Supreme Court is just not abiding by the Constitution. But this is writing in here very clearly. The state level sectors have original authority, which means top level authority, except for military and foreign policy. I'm sorry. Every rating system has original authority to set and must set rating floors on CRAs, fulfilling the purpose of their CRA sector listed in this amendment and their sector's mission statement. So every sector is going to give a set of responsibilities, a mission statement, and that has to be non-regulatory in nature, but it has to be fulfilled by your CRA. A CRA can do what they want to do, but they cannot be a CRA unless they meet a certain threshold of covering the responsibilities that they are assigned. The CRA Parent Sector Board must develop a mission statement for every sector. Highly important to understand who sets that mission statement. I have a lot of representative bodies in my constitution. Many representative bodies. Right now we have a state representative body, federal, and local representative bodies. I have so much more than that. I have federal, state, and local. But within the federal, 30. Within the state, 30. Within the local, 30. All having a set of responsibilities. Then within those 30, we just have a lot of representative bodies. And rating systems are representative bodies as well. So it's important to understand what we're dealing with. A sector's mission statement must be non-regulatory in nature. Talked about that. Limited to broad topics. And I won't finish going through it, but it limits and puts a language in there to say it cannot be regulatory in nature. Because what we don't want is for the mission statement to be a monopolized governance regulatory body. It needs to be short, name the topics, and then a rating system can come back and say, get a little bit more in depth, saying you have to achieve these type of things. A lot of ways to achieve it. Every rating system, the reason we have rating floors is because there's many ways to achieve a certain goal. The mission statement declares those goals. Because not reaching those goals creates negative externalities for society. And we have to sign a CRA social contract to live in America under my constitution, proposed constitutional amendment at least. So you cannot create major negative externalities. It is a negative externality for somebody to be on the sidewalk, bleeding out, where the and have a emergency room right there, and not have them not fix them up. When it's easy to fix them up, you stitch something up, you stop the bleed, something they can deal with easily. It's a major negative externality to have homeless people sleeping on the sidewalks. It is making the society worse. So it is a negative externality. And when you sign the CRA social contract, you're signing the smallest amount of government that we're allowing, that any society can have to a large degree. But you want to have that base, so we don't have major negative externalities all over the place. Let me make sure I covered everything. Okay, I got that. Every sector board must make intellectual property IP regulations at the sector board level. Patent laws and stuff, that's highly important, but you can't do that at the CRA level very easily, because somebody who's not a member of your CRA could just steal a trade secret or a new invention or whatever. But I want to have each sector fashion their IP laws, intellectual property laws, for their sector. So pharmaceuticals are going to have a special set of IP laws. Manufacturing will have another IP laws. Military might have, military will have a whole bunch of IP laws. So there'll be IP laws out there, intellectual property laws, and that's important. But we also want to make sure we understand the whole set of people who make IP laws. They need to understand that it can't be too strong. Too strong of IP laws ruin IP big time. For example, in gene therapy, if somebody discovers a certain gene and there's thousands of them, and you need many dozens of genes to make a certain drug or whatever, or to do a certain things, you have to go and get each one and make a deal with each gene maker or the person who owns each gene. It can make it very difficult to advance gene therapies and different things because you need to make so many agreements. And if one person holds out, you can't use it. So we have to be very careful how we do it. I have a few ideas on that, but that's I'm not the one that makes IP laws. This is a structure. I'm saying who makes IP laws. And it's the sector board for the healthcare sector. And this one, most likely for pharmaceuticals, is going to be Sector 17, the medicine and the medical device ones. So that's going to be extremely important. Okay, competitive regulatory agencies. Highly important to understand. That's not a sector. This belongs to all the sectors. There's 12 CRAs per sector. And it's highly important to understand how that works. First, you select your CRA out of all 12. And then most likely it's going to be like-minded people picking a CRA together. Liberals or people who like the Brookings Institute, they'll pick a CRA. People who like the Heritage Foundation, they'll pick a CRA. People who like Mises or Libertarians, they'll pick a CRA. People who are in the middle of the road, they'll pick a CRA. When you have 12, you get to have your pick. Right now, when we do an election, we have Trump, Obama, Clinton, Biden, AOC, Ted Cruz, Bernie Sanders. We have these politicians. We have to, whoever wins, they govern us. Well, I have a selection first. You get into small pockets of 5 to 20% of people who agree with each other. Then they'll have elections within their little group for their leaders. And then those leaders have real governmental power to govern their members. So if somebody doesn't like Bernie Sanders, just because somebody else picked a CRA controlled by Bernie Sanders fans, they're only governing Bernie Sanders fans. The people who like Ted Cruz or the Heritage Foundation or AOC, they're being controlled by their membership only, the leaders of their membership only. So it's highly important to understand that these are private organizations with governmental power. As long as you have 5% of the citizens, you have governmental power to govern yourselves. You have to take care of the area. You have to take care of family law or the military or the roads or whatever. A lot to get into on that. Every sector is so much different. I know I just opened up a whole big old can of worms there. My mind's racing to see how I can close them all up. I close them all up with my other videos. I deal with every single sector. Every single sector is so different. So let's keep on going before I go too far. I've done many hundreds of hours on videos already. So let's keep on going. A CRA is a semi-private, well, maybe 40 or 50 hours, but I put a lot of hours in on videos already. A CRA is a semi-private governmental organization consisting of only its members within the governed areas. I talked about it, but here is the clause. A CRA only governs its members within its sector's jurisdiction. So, healthcare is different than military. It's different from police. That's different from environmental law. They concentrate on their sector. Nobody regulating environmental law can regulate family law. Nobody regulating police are going to be regulating healthcare. So it's highly important to understand people are going to have a concentration for their sector. It might bleed over into another sector, and they're going to have to work together a little bit. But there's going to be clear lines between healthcare and finance and insurance and land and water and roads. There's going to be clear lines. Okay, a CRA is a semi-governmental organization that gains CRA authority by the membership of at least 5% of the governed area's entities. Entities is either a business or a person. So I define entity in my constitution because I didn't want to have to keep on spelling out a individual, association, a business. I wanted to have one word to define a citizen, a person, an organization, or a business. So it's a 5% and a weighted vote out of 20%. So no more than 20. And that's weighted votes. We talk about weighted votes in there. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but that's going to be important as well. A CRA may become socialist among other statist ideology. You pick the one you want. If you want a socialist CRA, you can have that. If you want a capitalist CRA, you can have that. But in a way, because they're only governing their members, it's all free enterprise to a large degree because they only govern their members. A capitalist or free enterprise guy might go with a socialist healthcare industry and just call out their big insurance. They might do that because they're going to be competing with other CRAs doing it differently. And so it's important to understand what a CRA is and what a socialist CRA might be. So one way you could do it, there's a lot of different business models. One way is a CRA takes care of everything. They hire the doctors, they hire the healthcare professionals, and a whole bunch of different healthcare providers, and they have it all under one roof of a CRA. Another way of doing it, the CRA, but you're paying a lot of CRA fees for that. Another way is a CRA is a small regulatory body that regulates a whole bunch of private organizations or private businesses that provide healthcare providers. And then you pay for each healthcare provider. One, you're paying very high CRA fees because they're taking care of everything. One, very low CRA fees, but you pay for a lot of things in the healthcare marketplace. So let's keep on going. Okay. The rating system is going to be highly important in every aspect, in every sector. But the healthcare, we need a lot better information in the healthcare realm. A lot of times right now we just went through the coronavirus scare in 2020, 2021 now. And one thing that we did not have is one thing that we didn't have is a good competition for authoritative medical advice and information. We have way too much monopolized, coming from the CDC, the World Health Organization, and the like. We had other people trying to put out information, and they were rejected by a lot of people. And sometimes the CDC and the World Health Organization got a black eye, and other times other people say, no, they didn't get a black eye, they were right. Well, what we need is a really good debate. What we need is good rating systems that can debate these ideas, that can explain the ideas, and have a true debate, allowing the people ultimately to decide. But when we hold the winners of an election, a president or a governor, as the leaders of organizations that are authoritative, that can lay out business regulations dealing with coronavirus, mask mandates and the like, we have to understand we have a monopolized source there. We don't have a good vigorous debate. The rating system is going to be a good vigorous debate, and they're going to give rating systems and rating scores. And those rating scores are going to be all over the place. Okay, the current system, the current healthcare system is full of price controls. It is crazy the way we're doing prices right now in healthcare. We can be sent a bill for $1,000 and have reasonable customary take it down to $125, $800 some dollars off, 80 some percent off, sometimes 50% off. It is crazy that we don't have the role of prices working well in our healthcare system. The government regulations, the insurance regulations that are controlled by government, it's all over the place. Government providing through the different organizations they have, they're really messing with the role of prices. Either do price controls directly or indirectly price controls. This new CRA structure does not allow it. This is not a clause. I'm just saying the role of prices is so messed up now, and I think my system is going to bring it back into place because we're not going to have monopolized control. If one CRA system is increasing the cost up without getting the better benefits, a lot of people will pay more cost if they get better health care. But if you're just raising the cost and you're not getting the better health care, then people are going to reject that system and go to a new system. So this new CRA structure does not allow it. at the monopolized sector board level. So we're going to bring the role of prices back into the healthcare system, in my opinion, with this new structure. We know it is vastly, the role of prices is vastly harmed right now within the current system. There's no doubt. There's so many examples of the role of prices being wrong. The two areas with the highest cost, the increasing cost, is healthcare and education. And that is mostly because it is so regulated or controlled and provided for by government. Therefore, the cost just goes dramatically up. Look in every other aspect of manufacturing, of cars, or even healthcare that is not heavily regulated by government or provided for by government. The cost goes down. So there's a lot of examples to that degree. So I think the role of prices can play a lot better role. You see prices going down in LASIK surgery for your eyes and some plastic surgeries and stuff because government does not provide for that, does not provide money or funding or compensation for that. So that's where the role of prices are playing a better role and the prices come down. So let's continue. Employers will not likely be in a position to affect healthcare and insurance. We want to go away from employer-based healthcare, at least I do. Right now, it goes to the employer because of tax law. Tax law allows the employer to provide and then have it deducted. If your employer does not provide and you try to buy it on your own, that money you're spending is not tax deductible. So it forces too much of the healthcare decisions to go to your employer, which in my opinion has many, many bad effects. It is likely the businesses, the employers, will just contribute to the benefit package controlled by the employee. So I know most employers still want to make sure their employees have health insurance, life insurance, dental, and all that stuff. So they're probably going to just contribute towards their benefit package. So they're not controlling their benefit package, but just going towards it. And they might just have a rating. Hey, you need to have a rating above this, then I'll give it to your benefit package. Because you don't want to just give to a benefit package that and they do nothing with it, or they just take it for cash or whatever. Anyway, even though that might not be a bad idea, we'll see how that works. But we want to get rid of any tax law that encourages employers to, any tax law or anything else that encourages the employers to be in the line of insurance, health insurance for their employees. Because nobody should be having to decide their health insurance when they decide their job. This new CRA structure allows many new and innovative business models that can incorporate charity, insurance, and financial arrangements. This is not a clause. This is talking about the current system, the current many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pages of regulations. Force everything into a certain business model. And there might be a few fluctuations here and there, but it really does force a lot into one method. So let's keep on going. Better online medical records, better ways to input medical information, better ways to analyze the records, faster or on-demand specialists. So I have a blog on there saying how I would like my healthcare done. A structure where we have a robust medical record that medical providers, I can input information, medical providers can input information. I'm sick and tired of filling out forms when I go to a new doctor. I should be able to give them one piece of information to get into my medical records, and then they have all the information they need. Everything with checks and balances, there's a lot of involved in that. But there's better ways to do medical. I have a business model I would like to see tried out, and I think would be successful. I would like to do it, but it's not out there now because government regulations. Okay, pretty much done with this video now. I always like to come back to taking a look at the whole structure. Here's the 30 sectors. Here's 15 of the first 15 of them. Here's the other 15 of them. you see how the whole system can work. It's always important to keep on looking at this one where you have to select your CRA. Medical providers have to select their CRA. Insurance providers have to select their CRA. Everybody has to select their CRAs. Pharmacies or pharmaceutical companies have to select their CRAs, which means they select their FDA. The people who will regulate drugs and approve drugs. There'll be 12 of those. That's what these 12 are. At the state level, at the federal level, at the local level. Obviously, local level is not going to be too important in this aspect of approving medical drugs. But state level is going to be the top authority. Now, most people are going to want to see what the federal level is because it has a bigger budget, all 50 states, and we're probably going to go to many more than 50 states, probably going to be split into 100, 200 states because within the structure, I don't like big states. I want much smaller states, somewhere between 1 million to 2 million people per state. And I have clauses in the Constitution that I think will make that happen. Okay, there's a lot I said here. You have to really look back at the CRA structure videos. I have several on the CRA structure, several on the rating system, several on the charity system. All that has to be incorporated together. Hopefully I touched on enough today on this video to give you an understanding how healthcare will work. Healthcare is not necessarily a certain set of clauses. It is more a, you have the CRA structure, the charity structure, and how that works together. Those are the big changes. I had a few clauses in there about illegal drugs and the like, and a few other things about emergency care. But on the most part, it's charity and regulations are the big biggies. So, and I described that. Anyway, please consider a donation on my website, Haley2024.org. It's easy to find. And until the next video.